we have a quiz, and the quiz is on lessons, so everyone pay attention. The quiz is on lessons 8.1 through 8.3. Okay? Lesson 8.1 is the stuff on what's called geometric means. Okay? Lesson 8.2 is the stuff on SOHCAHTOA. And 8.3 was inverse trigonometry. Lesson 8.2 and 8.3 were basically what you did on that homework packet. Yes, sir? Thank you. I wonder how long I was going to go. I'm just writing on the board. There's nothing showing up. Thank you, Reese.
I noticed that.
Yeah, because I've just been sitting here writing. Watch, you will see.
It'd
be great if it was like a masterpiece, like a Mona Lisa or something. And I was just painting it this whole time. So your quiz is on lessons 8.1 through 8.3. Lesson 8.1 is the geometric mean. Lesson 8.2 is SOHCAHTOA, and lesson 8.3 is inverse trigonometry. What? This is the quiz. Yeah, this is when the quiz is on.
We're going to do all this now?
Yeah. Now, the first thing is on lesson 8.1. And it's geometric mean. Okay? Geometric mean. Now the geometric mean is this. X equals the square root of A times B. You guys remember this? So for instance, if I ask you for the geometric mean of 4 and 25, that would be the square root of 4 times 25, which would be the square root of 100, which would be 10. Okay? That stuff is pretty simple. Yes? Sure, I'm also recording this. I'll put it on YouTube, like today. So, but you can take a picture if you want. So that's pretty simple. So go ahead and find the geometric mean of 3 and 27. Go ahead and find the geometric mean of 3 and 27. Go ahead and do that now.
So it's 3A and 27 is B.
Yep.
We did 3 times.
Oh, I know what I did.
Oh.
By the way, you guys all need your calculator for this quiz. Okay, you do. So if you do not have your own calculator, you're going to get an infraction. I will let you go and borrow somebody's calculator if you can find one, but you're going to get an infraction. So you need to have a calculator in your possession when you walk into this class, and it needs to be your calculator. So you should have bought one already. It's a scientific calculator like this. Okay, I'm not going to be letting you use your phones from any point onward after next week after the quiz. Okay, so just a scientific calculator will be fine. So you have been warned. All right, so what's the geometric mean? The geometric mean is square root of 3 times 27. What's 3 times 27?
81.
81. What's the square root of 81? 9. Good. So you guys know how to find the geometric mean. Is that pretty clear?
Yeah. That's
All
all I
right.
have to do for that?
That's it for that.
And this is the quiz that we're taking next time.
Mm-hmm. So, sure. Geometric mean. Okay. Find the geometric mean of.
That was 8.1, right?
Is there gonna be like
what was
decimals
that?
or fractions in it? On the quiz?
Yes.
Can we do one of those?
Hold on one second. Find the geometric mean of 8 and 32. Wait, what was that question? Sorry.
I said is there gonna be like any decimals or fractions?
Not this one. God bless you. Find the geometric mean of 8 and 32. So we divide.
No, 16. Oh, it's 16.
16.
Wait, it's not 4. 16. Okay, but like that's not. It's harder.
Okay, so what do? Square root of 8 times 32, square root of 256 is 16. All right, last one. Square root of 6 and 24. Or I'm sorry, the geometric mean of 6 and 24. It's 12? It's 12, it's 12, it's 12. Square root of 6 times 24. What's 6 times 24? 144. Square root of 144 is 12. All right, good. Now, these problems aren't always that simple. Okay? You've got to be able to... So that's just how to find the geometric mean of two numbers. So if I just give you two numbers, that's always going to be the way it is. But you also have to use the geometric mean for other things. So I'm going to show you an example of that now. So in lesson 8.1, shh, there's no demonic cowboys. All right, lesson 8.1. These were part of your homework problems that you should have done. So it shouldn't look that unfamiliar to you. Okay. So let's say I give you a setup like this. We already learned this lesson, so I'm not necessarily going to teach it all. You can go back and watch videos or go back through the book. So in this instance, y is the square root or the geometric mean of these two. So if I'm asking for x, y, and z, y, because y is this altitude here, is the square root of 6 times 4, which in this case is the square root of 24. Okay?
Yes.
See? X, this one here, x is the square root of the whole thing, which is 10 times 6. So you see how these are on the same side? So it's the square root of the whole thing times the one that's on the same side, so which is the square root of 60. Okay? And then z, exactly. Z is the square root of 10 times 4, which is the square root of 40. Does that make sense? You guys pretty clear on that? All right, so that's how you find the geometric mean in those ones.
There's one that was weird with those. That was like, yeah, number 12.
Yeah, so let's look at number 12. So number 12 is a little bit different. You guys understand how to do this?
I understand that one.
Okay.
Another one for practice.
Yeah, let me just I'm just going to do the same thing but change the numbers up, okay? So just so you guys can have some practice before I go on to something harder, let's say that this is 8 and 5, okay? So go ahead and find x, y, z for 8 for that triangle. Find x, y, and z.
so to find y, we have to multiply 8 by 5.
So y equals the square root, yes, of 8 times 5, which is the square root of 40. To do the other ones, I need to know what the whole thing is. Well, it's 8 plus 5, which is 13. So x is the square root of 8 times 13, which is the square root of 104. And z is the square root of 5 times 13, which is the square root of 65. Okay? Now, if that triangle is sideways or upside down or whatever, you still have to be able to recognize how to do it. So this altitude is the geometric mean of both numbers. The one on this side is the geometric mean of the whole thing and the part on this side, you see? And the one on this side is the geometric mean of the whole thing and the segment on this side. Does that make sense to you guys? You see? So you have to be able to visually identify that. Any questions on this? Okay. Now, let's go on to the next one. Number 12 is a little bit different. Okay, so number 12, this time I don't have both of these numbers, so I have to figure it out. Well, I know that 10, this number here, is the geometric mean of these two numbers. You see that? This altitude is the geometric mean of x and 20. So 10 is equal to square root of 20 times x. You see? Does that make sense? Because it's the same exact thing, except x was here. So before, it would be x would equal the square root of this number times this number. But since x is here, it's this altitude is the square root of this times that. Does that make sense? It's always the case. The altitude is the geometric mean of these two numbers, but this time x is one of these numbers, so that's why it's here. Does that make sense? So now what do I have to do to solve for x? I have to square both sides. I got to get rid of that square root. And the only way to do that is to square both sides. So I get 10 squared is 100 equals, the square root cancels with the square, so it equals 20x. What do I do now? Divide by 20. Good. And I get that x equals 5. So there you go. So this is 5. Now once I have that, the rest are the same, right? So go ahead and find y and z now that I found x. Go ahead. This is good practice. Go ahead and find y and z now that we found x. All right, let's take a look. Z is the square root of, z equals the geometric mean of 5 and the whole thing. What's the whole thing? 25. Good. So it's the square root of 5 times 25, which equals the square root of 125. Y is the geometric mean of 20 in the whole thing. So 20 times 25, which is 500. There you go. Cool? So this is what you need to know about geometric means. Yes, ma'am.
You could have a question like that on the quiz.
Could be. But no. Sorry. Sorry. No, it's not going to be like this. It's going to be more like the first one. I made it the easy one on the quiz, but on the test you can guarantee that there's something like that.
How come the 10
It was squared. 10 equals the square root of 20 times x, right? So I have to square both sides in order to get rid of the square root of x.
Good. Any more questions? No? Okay, so now at this point, from here on out, basically, it becomes similar to this handout. So what we're going to do is go through this handout as the rest of your review. Okay? So, yeah, simple as that. Now, the first thing, so everyone take out this handout, please. Okay, and we can go over it together. Hold on.
Why are we like learning trigonometry? Oh no, it's my bad.
Why?
No, you were,
No, it's okay.
no, I thought you were typing trigonometry, and then it is culture. Wait.
But we are learning.
This is trigonometry.
Yeah, this is trigonometry.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
trigonometry.
No, we are learning trigonometry, and why? Because trigonometry is a part of geometry. Or better yet, trigonometry is something that other people than I have decided must be taught in geometry class. Why is it kind of reasonable? Because we learned about shapes in geometry, and trigonometry has a lot to do with shapes.
Oh boy.
How do you think algebra 2 is?
Super cool, yo. I don't know. I like it.
Who mostly teaches algebra 2?
Okay, so check it out, guys. Let's go through it. This is stuff that we literally just went through yesterday, so you guys should be pretty well versed on this stuff.
Oh yeah.
The tangent of z. First off, what do I remember? SOHCAHTOA, 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 SOHCAHTOA. I gotta remember that, okay? So SOHCAHTOA. So I identify my angle, right? And then if I'm doing the tangent, I'm looking for what? Opposite and adjacent. So it's opposite and this one's adjacent. So the tangent of z is 21 over 28. You guys remember this?
Yes.
And then I simplify by 7 and I get 3 over 4. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? All right. So that's that one. Then I'm going to try and do one that looks a little different. Yeah?
Don't you put in the calculator?
No. No. Guys, to be clear, guys, when I'm just asking for the sine of an angle and I have all the sides, it's just the ratios.
So just find the value.
Just find the value, right? So sine of A, so what do? I identify my angle, and sine is what? Opposite over hypotenuse, right? So I have to get my opposite. So I pick my angle and I look. That side's the opposite, right? And the side opposite the right angle is hypotenuse. So in this case, the sine of A is opposite, which is 32, over hypotenuse, which is 40. Can I simplify this?
Yes.
By what?
8.
Oh my gosh.
8. So the answer is 32 divided by 8 is 4. 4 divided by 8 is 5. That's my final answer.
Does it matter which one you do, like if it was 4?
Well, you have to simplify it fully. So if you divide it by 4, you wouldn't be fully simplified. So you have to simplify by the greatest common factor. All right. Any questions on this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, you don't know what's that called? Like, where the A is yellow.
The angle,
Yeah, the angle. Like, why didn't you pick like the top one? Like,
because it's asking for the sine of A.
oh,
Yeah, so it specifically asks for the sine of that angle. So let's take a look at this one. Number 8. This is the last one we'll do like this. Sine of C. If anyone needs extra help, you can come see me after school today. Sine of C. Okay, that's my angle. Sine is what? What's the ratios? What sides? SOHCAHTOA, opposite over hypotenuse, right? So I find my opposite side. That's my opposite. Hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, which is this one. So there's my opposite and my hypotenuse. So the sine of C is opposite, which is 14, over hypotenuse, which is 50. Can I simplify this?
Or not.
What? 2.
Okay.
Simplify it by 2. And I get that it's equal to 7 over 25. That's my final answer. Okay, any questions?
I do.
All right. So that's those ones. All right, now I'm just going to, you still have your worksheet. So go ahead and do number 9. If you've already done it, great, you can just hang out. But if not, then do number 9 now. 9 is the cosine of Z. See if you can do that on your own. By the way, this stuff is all over the SATs nowadays. So, like, you guys don't want to do well on SATs, make sure you're paying attention on this kind of stuff because you will be so happy. SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA, SOHCAHTOA. All right. So cosine of Z. Shh. So identify my angle, and cosine is what? Which sides? SOHCAHTOA. Good. So here's the adjacent side, and this one opposite the right angle is hypotenuse. The adjacent leg, right, and the hypotenuse. So the cosine of Z is adjacent, which is 24, over the hypotenuse, which is 30. 6, very good. Equals 4 over 5. That's it. Any questions? All right, so that's that. Now, the next part of this is on the next page. So flip to the next page of that worksheet. Okay. So the question here now is to find x. So these are a little bit different because you're actually asked to find a side. So the first thing I do is I identify my angle. Once I've done that, I identify the sides that are given. This is opposite the right angle, so that's hypotenuse. And this is touching the angle, but it's not the hypotenuse, so it's adjacent. So which trigonometric ratio uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Cosine. So I know that I'm working with the cosine of 39 degrees equals adjacent, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 7. Okay? I then multiply both sides by 7. That cancels out. I'm left with x equals 7 times cosine of 39. I go into my calculator. I figure out that the cosine of 39 degrees is 0.777. So it's 7 times 0.777. I multiply that by 7, and I get 5.44. So x equals 5.44. That's my final answer. Okay?
Well, so here's the thing. You actually, in this calculator, cosine is 9.
Oh,
In scientific calculators, you write it just like it would look on this when you write it down.
Okay. All right. Any questions on that? All right. Now go ahead and on your worksheets, if you've already done it, great. If not, fine. Do number 5. Do number 5 on your worksheets. Okay. Even if you've already done it, you should be using this time for practice.
We did that in class yesterday.
What?
We did that in class yesterday.
I did number 5 in class?
Yeah.
I don't think I did number 5. I don't think I did number 5. I think I did I definitely did number 3, the one I just did. But I don't think I did number 5.
Maybe. I don't think so. Might even be messed up.
Mm-hmm. What?
Oh,
Yeah, it's on the second page. All right, let's take a look. So the first thing I do is identify my angle, then I identify my sides. That's opposite. This is adjacent. Which trigonometric ratio uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent. Good. So the tangent of 23 degrees equals opposite, which is x, over adjacent, which is 6. I multiply both sides by 6. I get x equals 6 times the tangent of 23 degrees, or 6 times the tangent of 23 is 0.424. Multiply that by 6, and I get x equals 2.547.
what? Would you round it down? So we 255.
Sure, 2.55 wouldn't be that. Would be fine.
We're at 2.52.
Go down. You would go down.
round the nearest time.
It's all good. Look.
You round to whatever it says you round to.
It's all good. On your quiz, there's going to be no answer even close to that. It would be like 2.7 would be the closest. More like 2.9. You're not going to get it wrong for rounding. Unless you round it really wrong. Yes.
I think 424.
The tangent of 23. Is that what you got? All right.
Next one. Number 6. Now number 6 I'm going to do for you. Number 6 I'm going to do for you. Hold on one second. Actually, I'm going to do number 4. even though I've already done it for you guys, just to remind you of how to do it. And then you'll do number 6 on your own. So let's take a look. Number 4. Watch carefully. I identify my angle. I identify my sides. That's opposite. This is hypotenuse. Okay, which uses opposite and hypotenuse? Sine. So the sine of 46 degrees equals opposite, which is 8, over hypotenuse, which is x. Now, my x is on the bottom. I have to get it on the top, so I have to multiply both sides by x. Okay? I then end up with x times the sine of 46 equals 8. But I have to get x by itself, so I have to divide by sine of 46. I then end up with x equals 8 over sine of 46. Or eight over 0.719, which equals 11.12. So x equals 11.12. And that's my final answer. You see? What was the difference here? Well, the difference was x is on the bottom, so I have to do an extra step. First, I have to multiply both sides by x, then divide both sides by sine, and then I get my answer. Okay? When x is on the bottom, that's when I have to do that. Any questions? Okay, now do number 6. Do number 6 now.
Would number 6 be also like
Opposite. That's not. This is the hypotenuse.
English at this
Focus. All right, I take it you're all done. There's talking, so I take it you're all done. Shh, 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 shh. All right. First, I identify my angle. I identify my sides. What's this side? Opposite. What's this one? Adjacent. Which one uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent. So I get the tangent of 46 degrees equals opposite, which is 7, over adjacent, which is x. Okay, x is in the bottom, so I multiply both sides by x. I'm left with x times tangent of 46 equals 7. What do I do now, class? Divide by tangent of 46. And I end up with x equals 7 over tangent of 46 degrees, or 7 over tangent of 46, 1.03565, whatever. 1.036, dividing that fully, 6.76, yeah. 6.76. There you go. That's your final answer. Okay, when x is in the bottom, that's what you have to do. Any questions on this? Okay, we're almost done. Now, the next thing, guys, the next thing is this. If I give you that the sine of A is equal to 0.4, now we're on inverse trigonometry. Okay, inverse trig. Inverse trig. If sine of A is 0.4, then A equals the inverse sine. How do you do this? You plug this into your calculator. You do second inverse sine 0.4 and you get 23.58 degrees. Now, there will be a question on your test just like that. In fact, it'll be easier. I will tell you, I will say, for instance, solve for the inverse sine of 0.821. Okay? And you just have to be able to use your calculator. So guess what? If you don't have a calculator yet, you're handicapping yourself. If you do have a calculator, great, because you've been practicing. So because all you have to do is know how to use your calculator for this.
What do you mean handicap?
You're handicapping yourself because you haven't been able to practice.
Oh,
Because you should have been able to practice this whole time. Okay? So, but the point is all you have to do is know how to do this in your calculator. So everybody do that. See what answer you get.
55, right?
You should get 55.185 degrees. Okay? If you can't do that, you got to raise your hand so I can come around to you. You do second.
Why do I finish the why is it doing this? It's like
0.821.
wait, on the work we just like we route. We route to the
Oh, you calculate this here plus.
oh, yeah.
Second option. Okay.
Any question, please? We have to round. Like,
If you had given me 55 degrees on a free response, I might take off a point. What?
he wants to be exact.
If I tell you round to the nearest degree, then you give me 55. But if not,
Wow.
look, the whole quiz is multiple choice. So that question is irrelevant for now. But on the test, I will specifically tell you what to round to. And if not, then you just be reasonable. Okay? All right. So that's the first bit of that. Now, the next bit is the rest of the worksheet. So this worksheet right here, numbers 9 through 14. So turn to your worksheet.
it's the same thing you just went over. 9 through 14.
No.
I missed it. But the top one was the same one.
Yeah.
1 through 8 is.
Yeah, 1 through 8 is basically what I just showed you. But numbers 9 through 14 is different, so pay attention because I don't have that much time. So look. Now look. Shh. Here, I've got an angle. And on your quiz, I'll tell you, oh, this is angle X. And I'll say, for instance, solve for the angle X. And what do you have to do? First, you identify your sides. That's opposite, and this is adjacent. So what trig ratio do I use with opposite and adjacent? Tangent, good. But since I'm solving for the angle, I use inverse tangent. So it's the inverse, so x equals the inverse tangent of 27 over 38. Whenever I'm solving for an angle, listen to me, guys, because this is the exact kind of thing that on a quiz you're going to be like, wait, what do I do here? And I don't remember. Listen carefully and let this ingrain in your minds. When you're solving for an angle, you do inverse trig. Got it? When you're solving for an angle, you do inverse trig. Okay? So I'm solving for my angle x. So it's opposite and adjacent. So I use tangent, but it's inverse tangent because I'm solving for my angle. So x equals the inverse tangent of 27 over 38. And then all I do is I plug that into my calculator. Inverse tangent of 27 over 38.
35.395.
And I get,
35.
very good, 35.395 degrees. Is that clear?
You have to put the degrees, right?
Yep.
If I get it off.
Yep. All right. So now go ahead, everybody, and do number 12. Or actually, just do number 12.
Did that one in class.
I did 12 in class. Then do number 14. Do number 14.
Is it okay if you just call it?
Do number 14. Do that on your own.
14?
Mm-hmm. Identify your angles, identify your sides, identify the trig function, and solve. Okay. So here's my angle, I'll call it x. This side's opposite. This side is my hypotenuse. Which trig function? So I identified my angle, identify my sides, now I identify the trig function. Which one do I use? Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. But since I'm solving for an angle, I use inverse. So inverse sine of opposite, which is 11 over 27. Plug it into my calculator. Get the inverse sine of 11 over 27, or 24.04 degrees. Okay, any questions on that? No? Now, last thing. Shh. I want you to consider something with me here. Look at number 16 on the back page. Okay? I didn't require that you guys do this for homework, but you really should. I just didn't require it because there were so many problems. I didn't not require it because you don't have to do it. In fact, you really should do it. There were just too many problems. So that's why I said that you didn't have to. But look, in this case, here's my angle, right? This is my angle x. So that changes which sides they are. So look, this one is still the hypotenuse because it's opposite the right angle. But what's this side here? What's this side here? Adjacent. Very good. So which trig function am I using? Cosine. So, but I'm solving for the angle, so it's inverse. So x equals the inverse cosine of 13 over 20, which is, plug it into my calculator, 49.46 degrees. Got it? Any questions about that? Yes, no? All right, so basically this is your quiz review. I did probably more questions than are going to be on your quiz. If you understand this, you're good. This video is going to be on YouTube literally within minutes, so you can just check my YouTube channel and you'll be good. Quiz is the day you get back from break. Be ready for it with your calculators or in fraction. If you'd like, you can take the quiz tomorrow at lunch or after school.
Really?
Yep.
Good.
I